The state capital can be summed up into a couple of words: good eating, a huge landlord, and cruel summers. Lincoln assassinations, sir, there are a million other things that will seize your mind and attention. But Lincoln's ill-fated trip to the theater is always going to be at the forefront of your visit. Why? Because folks are obsessed with it. Even every single cobblestone has a volume worth of info. The stair over there, that's the Exorcist stair. That's the bar over there, Teddy boned someone in the nose. Over there, Trump buys his egg McMuffins that Clinton cigar store. And no matter how many tours you participate in, no matter the thematic of the tour, no matter who is in charge of the tour, Lincoln is the main attraction. Lincoln, the Civil War, and his assassination. There are so many Lincoln sites in Washington, D.C. that the man quite possibly used a teleporter to get around. And there are so many Lincoln would be possible, maybe, sir, why not, conspirators in the dastardly assassination plot that you wouldn't be wrong to believe that back in those days, everyone was carrying a pistol and had a photo of Lincoln with a bullseye on their trousers. One of those main conspiracies was Mary E. Surratt, and today we're going to talk about her boarding house. Her life, her sentence, her execution, and her notes. Mary E. Surratt boarding house in Washington, D.C. is located at 604 8th Street, Northwest. It was a place of multiple meetings of the villainous table that would end up tossing and long gunmen into history. At Mary E. Surratt boarding houses, where conspirators traded secrets, handshakes, and planned to kidnap and consequently to assassinate U.S. President Abraham Lincoln. This is where Booth drank his beers and practiced his makership. Maybe, no one is entirely sure. History is like that. Sketchy. The building is a 3 1/2 story tall construction. Nothing fancy, just functional. It was built by Jonathan T. Walker in 1843. It has been defined as being an early republic or federal style. John Surratt bought the dwelling of Augustus A. Gibson on December 6, 1853. He returned to abode into boarding house 9 years after the purchase. John died. Mary, meanwhile, partly estranged from her husband, was running a tavern residence in nearby Maryland. And to be honest, I don't live far from it. I've never seen it in person though. I don't know if they do tours for the public. So maybe if you ask for special permission, they will. But my mom's seen it in person, and she said it was pretty creepy. But now they've repainted it to what it used to be like. And it is a bright red, kind of, trying to tell you, kind of like this bright of a red. It's brighter in person, but, yeah. The place was turning a profit, but the real Mary but the real cash cow in her financial reporter was the boarding house in Washington. So Mary packs up her things and decides to move to D.C. after her husband leaves this mortal hole for the great Ringo lawns in the sky. Here is where the history gets iffy. Mary rents out her Maryland property to John M. Lloyd. Lloyd was a bricklayer, former policeman, and a huge Confederate sympathizer. Why does history get iffy at this point? Well, because up till now, Mary wasn't exactly a political paragon or a Confederate consumer. She was just a businesswoman wanting to turn a buck. Lloyd, on the other hand, was akin to Arya from Game of Thrones. Every night before man reacting his hit list. Lincoln, Grant, Mary Todd, and Milliken. So Mary goes off to Washington, D.C., and 3 years later, John Wilkes Booth sneaks into the Lincoln's box at Fort Sumter in Mid-Bay. Our American cousin fires a lone bullet. The projectile wriggles in the prospect's stall and causes irreparable damage. Lincoln is mortally wounded. Booth tries to escape. Lincoln's messenger, Henry Mufflo, grapbles with the assassin. Booth stabs Ramon. Ramon pushes Booth. All hell breaks loose. Lincoln is transported across the street to Preston House and treated. He is given palliative care and remains in a coma for 8 hours. On April 5th at 7:42 a.m., the city's bell rings. Now belongs to the ages. Lincoln's flag unfolded body and escorted in the rain to the White House by the bareheaded Union officers. The next morning, President John is sworn into office. While all this is happening, the police, the army, neighbors, and basically everyone in Washington is hunting down Booth. Investigators start to untangle a web of intrigues. It wasn't just a lone wolf, but a pack of canine zealots. It was a conspiracy. Around 2 a.m. on April 15, 1865, members of the District of Columbia Police visited the Surratt boarding house, inquiring about John Wilkes Booth. By now the police are aware of Booth's plan was to shoot the president while a second gunman tried to assassinate the vice president. The police were also aware that it was a group effort. Aside from Booth, the police were also searching for Booth's 2 friends, Lewis Powell and drum roll please, John Surratt. They are, that's right, Mary's son. Mary right off the bat starts lying her pictures of John in Canada. Booth never heard of the fella. Lewis Powell doesn't ring a bell, and so forth. The cop witnessing how Mary pants were starting to sizzle and burn, like the trousers of bare-faced liars are prone to do. Deciding to stick around mid-morning, the doors open and jaw forced open. In Walt's Lewis Polo, the crafty policeman tackled Mary and Polo, and up the creek they went. Into the pokey. In 1865, the military tribunal is trying to conspire the conspirators of Lincoln's assassination, heard statements from tenants, and the boarding house that the Surratt had constantly met with John Wilkes Booth and the Lincoln conspirators at her residence. The testimonies were especially at best. Mary, according to the statements, just met Booth. Not one could verify they planned an assassination. There was no direct between the meetings and the assassination plot. Until John M. Lloyd enters the scene. Lloyd is arrested at the man starts singing like a bird at the slammer looking for a plea of bargain. He starts to implicate everyone, including Jesus Christ and Buddha. With leading the plot, Lloyd tells the tribunal that Mary visited him in Maryland and demands him to have shooting irons ready that the bullets into gaze rectangular. The trial was fast and quick, and folks full of holes. Johnson wanted to get the tragedy behind him and start his presidency. The nation was still reeling from the Civil War and the midst of Reconstruction era, and couldn't afford to be blown out by Lincoln's plot. Already in the South, folks were hailing Booth as a hero on the sentiment in the Hill was that they needed to nip in the bud. Johnson wanted a clear statement and sent out of what happens to Confederate spies and rebels. On the 5th of July, execution order was signed. The trial had been less than a month. Mary, in spite of the evidence, is a driven facts that her constant pleas that she was innocent was sentenced to death. That very day, gallows while the Equus Branch was constructed south of the ancestral courtyard in D.C. 2 days later, Mary Surratt was hung and later buried on Mount Olivet Cemetery. She has since been represented in film, theater, and television. In April 2011, her house obtained some recognition from the release of a film of her life, The Conspirator, by director Robert Redford. As of 2020, Mary Surratt's boarding house is used as a restaurant with karaoke rooms. I am so there. Mary was the first woman to ever be executed by the federal government. On the day of her execution, her daughter Anne traded the business for a slim sum of dough. Mary Surratt's note sticks around. You can find her scrutiny at the fort she was held at Fort McNair, the place she was hung from, and her boarding house. From the 1870s onward, inhabitants of her boarding house have insisted that Surratt's spirit is accountable for the ushers, whisperers, incorporated voices, murmurs, footfalls, strike cries, and sweeping floorboards. Thousands of bizarre noises that have frightened tourists and visitors alike. Most haunted area in the boarding house is the second floor. To many, Mary was unjustly tried, and in many cases, see most of the conspirators in this plot should have gotten a stay of execution. Many believe, given these circumstances, the evidence, and the period, Mary deserved clemency. This is stated by French scientists that a soul who dies violently with an unsolved issue is tossed into a state of unrest until the truth behind their death are revealed. Mary Surratt, investigator of the supernatural claim, remains increasingly stubborn and still certain of its innocence. Her spirit is restless, searching for someone to vindicate her memory. So, Mary Surratt. And yet, I do live not far from her house. Not the boarding house, but her house. Although I don't live not far from DC either. Anyway, but with all the crap that was going on with that time, Lincoln's assassination and many other crimes going on at the time, everyone was still recovering from the Civil War. Did Mary have a plot in the Lincoln's assassination? Who knows? Was she innocent in all of it? And then, who knows? I hope one day someone is able to clear her name. Anyway, thank you for watching my videos and channel. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I am Haunted Roll, and this is my channel. I'll speak to you later. Until next time, sleep tight.